welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Angelica.
And welcome to a very big deep dive episode.
Our second two-part deep dive.
Have we done a two-part deep dive before? The rain one was two
you?
parts. Yes,
Yes.
it was. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And
Couldn't
this
remember.
is, I would say, another behemoth.
Yeah.
An icon of the K-pop industry. The one, the only queen of K-pop, Miss BoA.
BoA! Yay! It's BoA's turn. It's so exciting because the day this episode comes out is the day after BoA's 20th anniversary since debut. An amazing feat.
Yes, 20 years. I want to say that's the longest running K-pop idol career, but then I think of like Lee Hyori and I wonder if she's got her beat.
Maybe Baby
don't
Vox
know.
debuted slightly. Well, they would have debuted before, or Finkel would have debuted before BoA.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
feel like if the group broke up and then time between her becoming a solo artist and all the breaks she's taken,
True.
like, I don't know, consistency-wise.
Consecutively. Yeah, it's definitely the longest consecutive career. We'll give her that.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. We can say that.
And the youngest debut.
Young debut and probably the most pivotal figure in the Hallyu wave as a concept in general.
Yes.
Like, we owe so much to BoA.
Yeah, we're going to talk, of course, a lot about her general accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important one is the impact and like popularity that she was able to gain in Japan.
Right.
Because it was the first time that any K-pop star was able to break through. And so this deep dive will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because this time we are going to include in the timeline all of her Japanese work because of how important her Japanese discography and career is to Hallyu in general.
Right. It's usually kind of like a rule of deep dives that we skim over Japanese stuff. But yeah, today it's so much more important. I feel like for many other groups, their Japanese stuff is supplemental and it like helps their popularity. But like in BoA's case specifically, and probably when we talk about TVXQ someday, like the Japan part
Yeah.
is really important.
Yes. To illustrate its importance, we always do like some statistics and
Yes.
numbers and facts. So I've got so many numbers for you. The first, let's start with the things in Japan. Like I said, she was the first K-pop star to break through in Japan since World War II.
Yes.
That's amazing. She is the only foreign artist to sell over 1 million copies with 3 different albums, and she's only one of 3 artists that have 6 consecutive #1 albums in Japan. She has overall, throughout her entire 20-year career, 36 awards, 45 total albums, 19 studio albums that are in Korean, Japan, and English. She has 2 EPs, 76 singles, 31 of which charted in the top 10 in either or both Korea and Japan, 17 promotional singles, and 19 collaborations and features. She
Damn.
has so much music.
So much music. I think that was probably the hardest part of the research today was like the way, we'll get into it, but the way that her Japanese music was released is also really crazy, where it would be like 5 singles would get released and then it would all get put into an album. So trying to decide like which song is the important song to talk about here.
That was a challenge. When I was looking through your notes after I did my research, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't listen to that song. I listened to this song. And so BoA is an artist that puts out only huge albums. Like
No minis, no EPs.
No.
Just big old albums.
So many, like 12, 13, 14 song tracks, like so many big albums. And then each one of them had at least 3 promoted singles. So it's just a lot to
There's
get
so
through.
many music videos. Mm-hmm. Like
Yeah,
the sheer
2 or
amount.
3 music videos per album.
Yeah, the sheer amount of choreography that she put together for things, it's totally nuts.
Yeah.
So I say let's get into it because we have so much to cover.
Absolutely.
So some fast facts about BoA up top. Her birth name is BoA, so like that is her birth name, but her artist name is stylized. Capital B, little O, capital A.
Yes. when she first broke into the U.S. market, people thought that her name was an acronym for Best of Asia, but that is not what it was intended
interesting.
to be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Her fandom name in Korea is Jumping BoA, and then in Japan it's Seoul, but not spelled like the city, spelled like Seoul. And then her fan color is yellow, but it doesn't have, it's way predates fan colors having stupid names or like, it's just yellow. It's
yellow.
not like labeled anything. Yeah. Yellow is BoA's color. Yeah, she is one of like, I think she's such a well-rounded artist, which is why she is a superstar, but I do think that her dancing is her greatest strength.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And she's one of those freaky people who can just like watch a choreography and then do it back perfectly 10 seconds later. Like she's just got one of those like minds, which I think has helped her in these 20 years of being such a dance queen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it's because she started from such a young age that she has this like perfect memory for choreography. Mm-hmm. It's really wild. She was born, did we already say her birthday?
No, I haven't said it yet. Okay. It's November 5th, 1986.
Yes, so she's 34.
She will be 34 this year, yes.
Yes, she is on all the social medias. She's on TikTok at BoA_Kwan. Insta is just BoA Kwan, and so is her Twitter as well.
Do you have her birthplace? I don't have that written down, or no?
No, I didn't write
it's
that
fine.
down.
She's a Korea girl from Korea. It's fine. But her origin story is very interesting. In 1998, when she was 11 years old, she tagged along with her brother to one of those big SM open call auditions. Her brother wanted to be a b-boy. He failed the audition, but they signed her that night. Like, within the day, they signed her to be a trainee. And don't worry about her brother. He's a classical pianist now. It's okay. Like, he survived not making the audition. But, yeah, it, like, wasn't even for her. But she, like, is such a good... She, like, I think she probably, like, studied the hip-hop. Like, she's... What am I looking for? She was, like, good at... I bet she watched her brother B-Boy and knew how to do it, too. Because she definitely
like
has,
and
like...
lock.
Yes, that's the word. I was like, what's that thing where you go like this?
Yeah, what's interesting is that, like, okay, so her tagging along with her brother is the story that I also, like, know and have heard several times. But then she went on a 2018, and, like, she has said that herself. Like, that's where the story comes from. Like, she's mentioned it several times. I found a 2006 interview where she says that story about her brother. But then, when she went on that 2018 Happy Together episode that had, like, Baekhyun and Key and
all the
Taeyong,
SM kids all telling on each other.
And Key was like, Growl built this building.
Right.
So BoA told her story of, like, how she got scouted, because they were all telling their stories of how they got scouted. And she said that she had participated in a dance competition and that over 20 companies had given her their card, but that the first to call her and invite her to audition was SM. And she was, like, skeptical at first, and her parents didn't really want her to do it because she was so young. But when she got there, she saw that she was actually auditioning for Lee Soo-man, and then she did audition, and then she passed immediately. And she's told that version of the story several times. So I wonder if the truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
I was just fun fact. I was confused in my research,
but I guess I feel like that makes a little bit more sense. I mean, it's a fun dreamer story to be like, oh, she was just they picked her out of the crowd, but it makes a little more sense to know that she was possibly being actively recruited already.
I wonder if like maybe she participated in the dance competition. And so did her brother. Maybe her brother was, like, also participating in it, but he was the one that was hoping. I don't know. I can only speculate. But anyway, so she started training when she was only in 6th grade, and she only trained for 2 years before she debuted. And from the beginning, she started receiving English and Japanese lessons. So they were always sort of grooming her for this international
thing.
Stardom, which I think is interesting.
Really quick, before we dive into debut, I realized the part of the deep dive we haven't done yet, which is like our personal understanding and knowing of BoA. And I think, like, I've said this on the show before, but one of the earliest things that I ever watched in my K-pop life that, like, informed so much of my early knowledge was the SM I Am concert documentary. And in that documentary, before the BoA section, they show like every member of Super Junior and Girls' Generation and SHINee just talking, like saying how much BoA is their hero, and that they like that she just like amazes them. And I remember being amazed at her existence because at the time I kind of didn't realize that there were K-pop solo artists. Like, of course there are, but when I was like a baby fan, I thought it was all
They're
about
very
groups.
rare. They're very rare.
So
solo
to know
artists.
that there was like a soloist girl who had been doing it solo since she was a little kid, like exploded my mind.
Yeah. Especially because I feel, well, when we first started listening to K-pop, I said they were very rare. They're not that rare anymore. But when we first started listening to K-pop, they were. And it was rare for a solo artist to start out solo.
Yes.
Like, and so for someone who, debuted so young, was so huge, and to always have been solo was surprising to me as well.
Yeah, so my first introduction to BoA was like, this is the person who is the hero of my heroes. Like, she just has like an air of grandeur and that people like really, really, really respect her a lot. I feel like as far as like old BoA releases, a lot of these were very new to me in doing my research, but like everything she's put out in like the last 5 years, I feel like I was very aware of. Like as long as I've been in K-pop, I've been appreciating BoA singles. I think that feels right.
Yeah, I've definitely kept up with her like more recent things within the last 5 years. I would say for sure. I don't remember what the first thing of BoA's that I ever saw was. I mean, one of the earliest things had to have been that I Am documentary as
Right.
well. But for some reason, and I can't tell you why, but her English debut song, that music video is so ingrained in my brain. Like when I was watching it to research, it like felt like it hit some deep memory of mine that I almost wonder if I saw it when it came out and like I just know that, but I don't know. But I like know that one.
Yeah,
and
I
don't
remember that's what she
why.
performs in the I Am documentary too, and I remember it being
Yes.
like, "Oh, this song? I think I know."
Yes.
So it must have gotten
It must
some
have
amount of radio play
something
or showed up on
somewhere.
MTV.
I don't know, but I knew that one.
Yeah.
I knew that one. And then I feel like the first thing, and so like I don't know. I feel like the first song that came out though, when I was like actually listening to K-pop, and then she put out a new song, and I was like, "Ooh, yes, BoA," was Camo.
Okay.
I love that one. And then she came out with One Shot, Two Shot, and I like bought that one and have been like
Singing along
paying
since.
attention. Yeah, paying attention and fanning along.
Yeah.
Ever since.
But yeah, it's so interesting. I was like, on that same note, I was looking at like really old Facebook posts of ours the other day, and it must have been after we had watched the I Am documentary together that I discovered that Make Your Move was a movie, because I wrote on your wall, I put the trailer and I was like, oh my God, BoA did a movie with Derek Huff. So I
Yes.
just called her, but like that means that we knew who she was, because I would have.
And remember when we watched that movie, I had already seen
it.
it. So I had like obviously at some point watched, I don't know when or how, but yeah, BoA was in my life in peripheral way.
So the
I don't
point
know.
is, I guess, that she's just always been here. Whether we knew it or not, she was always here.
She was always here for us, our beloved BoA.
Our beloved BoA. Great. Okay, so let's get into the timeline. We talked about this earlier this year in our deep dive on the year 2000, but on August 25th, 2000, BoA debuted with her debut album called ID Peace Be. So yeah, this is, like you said, a 12-track album. Like, it's a full debut album, not even just a little mini. And it reached 30 on the charts and sold 166,000 copies nationwide and was the 59th best-selling album in Korea of 2000.
Yes, the title track is the same as the album,
yes.
ID Peace Be. Fun fact that I learned: SM invested $2.5 million in BoA's debut, so they were here to make it work, and that eventually did very much pay off.
Yeah.
Even though this one, like you said, just had like moderate success, it did pretty well. And she afterward, like they immediately partnered with Avex Trax, the Japanese production company that then they're going to go together for her whole
for
Japanese
the rest
career.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, her like debut image was definitely like very young, very youthful, very fresh. She had like a tomboy image. She wears like she's very covered up and she wears big baggy pants and stuff. And her hair is like parted in the middle, just like a girl.
Yeah, I feel like her signature look at the beginning of her career was definitely like, I mean, eventually it changed a little bit, but it's like pants, sometimes like kind of baggy, and then a long sleeve top. And her makeup was super minimal. She had like pretty much no makeup on and was just like, she was young and she was really good at dancing.
Yeah.
And she had like male backup dancers and they did like hip hop choreography. This song always gets stuck in my head just by seeing the title of it.
Peace be is my network ID. Like it's
It just like sticks in there, and I like sort of resent it because of it, and I think it's because of when I would play Superstar and I would be scrolling through and you just like hear the clip, and that 2-second clip is enough to get it stuck in your head all day.
I have quite a few Superstar based notes. That game is very important in my understanding of a lot of SM entertainment. It's like
especially with someone like BoA, who there is a lot of like her old music on Superstar, so like you can play things that you've never heard before. I feel like a lot of BoA's old stuff has a very similar sound to it, which is this. I like can't associate it with anything other than this song, and I don't love it, but I also think that for one, like she's very young, although I did say when I was watching this music video, like she doesn't sound 13, I don't think. But BoA has a really specific voice.
Her voice is so interesting.
It has like a very distinct character to
There's
it.
There's like a smokiness. I wouldn't call it a rasp or a hoarseness, and it's not even a deep voice. It's actually quite a high-pitched voice.
Because it's kind of like up and back in her like nasal cavity, and like up high, like in I can't describe it,
but I know what you mean.
I'm gesturing, you know what I mean. It's very distinctive, and she can hit notes, and she like has a strong belt. So I feel, but it is a little bit. I feel like in this one she sings in a bit of like a lower register, and so this like weird. I don't know how to describe this sound. I feel like it's like low and like. I don't know. I can't find the words to describe this vibe of music.
I don't know. It just feels like that kind of low effort feels too negative. But something about music in this time period, there's just a laziness. And I think we touched on it in the 2000s episode. It just sort of seems like people who were making like hip hop pop music in the late 90s, early 2000s had a library of exactly 10 sounds. And everyone used them for literally every song, which makes every song sound exactly the same.
Yeah. So many of these I thought really sounded very similar. But I think it suits the like quality of her voice. It's just it's very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, the song is like literally about the internet and like, but like peace world, like my ID is peace be, like I'm here to... Like, yeah, her whole image was just like, I'm the youth. Like, that's what they want. I think that's what they were trying to
and like bringing in like a new age of youth.
Yeah, we're kids. We have the internet now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then next, on March 8th of 2001, she put out a special album called Jumping Into the World. And the single is called Don't Start Now. But not the Dua Lipa song. Yeah, so this song actually is a classic SM. Take an English song and rewrite it. This song was actually on singer Brooke Allison's 2001 album, and it was called Toodaloo. The English version that BoA eventually sang on a Japanese remix has the same lyrics as Toodaloo, except they changed a line that was about there was like a line about hoes. They took that out and made it about fantasy or something for the BoA version. But the BoA English version, I think it's kind of funny to listen to because the backing track, the people who are going "Don't start now" have British accents and they say "Toodaloo, baby," and it's very silly. Anyway. But the other interesting thing about this album is like this is her second release ever, and it has English and Mandarin tracks on it.
Yeah, 3 of them, plus 8 new tracks. And this is, I always think I don't know why it's like called a special EP and not just like a full.
Because it seems like a whole other album.
Yeah, I don't know.
The music video for this one I thought was funny because it seems like they really want us to think that BoA is in New York City, but it's very clearly just like out of focus backgrounds or possibly a green screen. But
I thought it was a green screen for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
I also just thought it was funny that like, because in this one and also in Peace Be, I always pay attention to her backup dancers because she's just a solo artist.
Yeah.
So like she usually is a lot. And when she first debuted, just like this tiny 13-year-old thing was like always dancing with full grown men behind her. And I just think it's so funny because like, I mean, she holds her own, obviously she's a fantastic dancer, but it's just funny to me that she's like the backdrop of these full grown men dancing behind this tiny 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, what are they thinking?
But she does have the amount of like presence and confidence she has is just like so mind blowing because she is so young, but she doesn't like have the vibe. Like, I don't know, her vibe is just that she like knows what she's doing, or like, I don't know, she has such strong presence. Yeah, in this music video, she's wearing like a leather like motorcycle jacket thing and still doing her like, it's not quite tough girl. I think it is just sort of like tomboy more than it is like a tough image because she does have like it's like a fresh youth
it's not
thing.
A tough image in the sense that like she's hard.
Right,
she's not trying to be like intimidating, but it's not a feminine like girly image for sure. She is wearing like baggy pants and like she's dancing with grown men, and the dance is not like there's no body rolls. It's not sexual. It's not like feminine or cutesy either. It's just like hip hop style.
Yeah. And she's great at it. I linked for myself. I'll put it in the playlist. There's a music camp performance of "Don't Start Now" where she's wearing this like little suit, this little like school suit thing, and the top is so cute, but then the pants are so baggy, and it like she's just so small, and she has that like early 2000s like big spiky like tree hair, and it's so cute. She's so cute.
Yeah, she is adorable. She also looks very much the same.
Yeah.
She does now.
It's really crazy.
I wrote that I didn't have a date for this, but I just wrote that it was like a fun fact because we're about to start talking about her Japanese stuff.
Right.
And one of the first things she did in Japan was that she sang at a club called Velfair, which it was famous because it was the largest disco in Asia.
Wow. That's that's like a neat thing, but it also is so weird to think about like a 14-year-old having like a debut in a club.
Yep. It was owned by Avex Trax, which is why she did it. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. I was like, oh, like 14-year-old club singer? Like, this is so strange.
Yeah, so like you said, it's time to go to Japan. So in May of 2001, they put out a Japanese version of ID Peace Be, and it peaked at 20. So people like it. And then in July, she put out another Japanese single, and this one is called Amazing Kiss. Yeah, so Amazing Kiss feels like a turn because this is where her signature outfit becomes crop top and baggy pants.
I was like, this is the turn because this is the signature BoA outfit.
Yes.
Is crop top and baggy pants. To this day, it's still her signature outfit. But like now it's crop tops.
Right.
Still dancing with these like full grown men in the background, but doing great. I don't know what that's like to be like twice the person's age that you're backing up. It just makes me giggle. It just tickles me.
It's funny. No, it's like my husband's coworker Simone was Aaron Carter's guitarist for a super long time.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about him. He's like a super eccentric Italian guitar. Oh my god.
Yes, but he was like Aaron Carter.
Yeah,
when,
that's
like,
right. He used to
weird
tour
teen
with Aaron Carter.
Yeah,
oh my
so
god.
that's the thing.
Anyway, yes, I think it's funny or it's interesting. It's not funny. It's interesting the difference in sound between her Japanese stuff and her Korean stuff. Because like we were talking about, ID Peace Beat has that like lower sound. This is very high, right? This is like bubbly
and twinkly.
And even her voice, like the notes are it's like in a higher octave, and it just seems generally sweeter. But she didn't really change the style of like her choreography or anything like that. But there are like sort of different aesthetics to each one.
Yeah, and this song eventually was released in Korean on an SM summer album, like way long down the road. But the Japanese version came out way before. So March 13th, 2002 is a very big moment. This is when BoA puts out her first full Japanese album, and it was called Listen to Your Heart. The new single on this one was called Every Heart / Mina no Kimochi. And this is very important. I mean, this whole album is huge, but this song was featured in the anime Inuyasha. So I know several people personally who their gateway into K-pop was BoA in the Inuyasha credits and falling from there, like long ago. So that's like an interesting thing. Is like I think being tied to the anime probably helped because people love anime, and that was a very popular one. But this album debuted at #1 on the Japanese Oricon chart, and like you said at the beginning, that was the first time that a Korean artist had done that, probably ever. The Wikipedia said like since Japanese occupation ended, but I kind of can't imagine that during it there was Korean music being popular either. But
yeah, and like then before that, like how globalized was the music market?
And
like,
anyway,
in the early 1900s. So I think it's safe to say she is like the first.
Yeah.
This also became her first Recording Industry Association of Japan's certified million seller. So it was a huge debut.
Yeah, and it was a really big deal, and everybody in Korea was like so proud of her because like, yeah, this was a huge thing. And also, we've talked about them before in different episodes, like the Trot one, but like Korea had a lot of rules for a long time about Japanese stuff being imported to or like played in Korea. And in 98 they had started lifting those things, like you could have manga now, or like you could have Japanese music if it didn't have any Japanese lyrics. Most of the things were eventually lifted in 2004. So it was just like an interesting time where like Korea was sort of being like, maybe we can let a little Japanese stuff in here. And Japan was apparently like, hey, this K-pop is pretty cool. Like, we'll listen to it. So, like, the music was, like, mending global ties. And that's the importance of BoA.
Well, she's Peace B. That's what
peaced.
she's here to do.
Yes.
Bring peace wherever she goes. I have the next thing being a return to Korea.
Yes.
The very next month, on April 4th, she released her second full Korean album, which was called #1.
And the single was also called #1. So this song debuted at #1 and stayed there for 4 months.
Yes, it became the second best-selling album of the year, selling 544,000 units. And it sold out in weeks. Like the first couple weeks, you couldn't even buy it.
Yeah, they had to do like a reprint and put an extra song on like the new version because the original print sold out like so fast that then that became like a collector's item of like if you got a first pressing. The music video is like BoA, like paparazzi, like hustle bustle cameras, and she's on like really big screens where there's like Japanese writing around the screens, but then she's like dancing on a roof in Korea and she's saying you're still my number one, and I was reading into it as her like returning to her country after like this huge success and being like, don't forget I'm yours though, baby.
I'm your baby BoA. Because before she was our beloved BoA, she was our baby BoA. And yeah, that's how I read into it as well. I wrote this down and I forgot to bring it up before, but we always make note of like when artists have a hand in their own music because it doesn't happen very often. And I am going to later we'll talk about the idea of BoA being a manufactured pop star. But on this album, she has 3 credits. She wrote the music and lyrics to 2 of the songs and just the lyrics for 1. And in her previous Listen to My Heart, she also has 1 track. She also has 1 track as well.
Very important. Interestingly enough, there was a lawsuit over writing credits on one of the songs on this album that lasted for 13 years.
Wasn't it the title track?
Yes. Yeah. Like back and forth in court forever and ever. I just thought that was crazy. And I also noted that there's a music video for a B-side called My Sweetie from this album that's very cute.
And this comeback had like a way more feminine look, I think. Like we were talking about how at the beginning she, like Piece B is very tomboyish. Yeah. And then this comes out and like she's wearing a sort of mesh top. She has crop tops on. She's wearing like belly chains. She has female backup dancers for the first time. And there's like a little more hips in her, her dancing. A little more. So just sort of a note of her general evolution.
Yeah, it's important. So then in September of 2002, she put out a second special album called Miracle. And the single is sometimes called Miracle, but SM has it listed as Destiny on their official channel. This album included Korean versions of all the previous Japanese releases that she had put out. And like I said before, at this time, music with Japanese lyrics was not allowed to be sold in Korea. So like that was the way to get their bang for their buck out of those Japanese songs.
Yeah, she re-releases that. She re-releases almost all of her Japanese music in Korean.
The music video for Miracle / Destiny, I had to write down, she's wearing the most amazing bedazzled cowboy hat. And it's like the most early 2000s bedazzled cowboy hat.
She even has those like body rhinestones on her wrist.
And she has a bolo tie that has a bee on it for BoA. And I was like, wow. The other thing that's crazy about this is the outro of the chorus to Destiny is exactly the same as No Scrubs.
No.
It's the same.
Yeah, it's the same. There's 100%. Also so you could hear in the clip there's like a violin in it. And I even wrote the timestamp down at 3:12. They do the how does that go? They do the Ladies Leave Your Man at Home from Jumpin' Jumpin'. Yeah, thank you very much. I immediately while we were listening to the clip, I could hear it, and then as soon as it stopped, it left my brain. But yeah, the Jumpin' Jumpin' violin is in there as well. But this EP went to #1 on the monthly chart. It sold over 330,000 copies. So she's killing it, being very, very popular. Our baby BoA.
Baby BoA. So then in January of 2003. She put out her second Japanese album that's called Valenti. It also immediately went to #1. We're not going to play Valenti right now because we've decided for this chunk of 10 years, this was the most popular album because it sold 1.2 million copies.
Yes, it's another certified million, and it is her best-selling record, like, to this day. So
we'll get to that later.
It sold over 15,000 in just 1 week. So that's a lot. There's only one BoA lyric cred on this album, just something to note. And then right after this is when she set out on her first tour. She did 3 cities in Japan with 6 dates between March and April.
Wonderful. I also noted that every song off of Valenti that was released as a single was in the top 3. So, like, it was such a smash album. Like, it was very popular. Then in May of 2003, is that in the middle or after this tour that you just mentioned?
It's after. The tour was March through April.
Okay, perfect. So as soon as the tour is over, she goes back to Korea. 3rd Korean album called Atlantis Princess.
That chorus would fit so perfectly into our Before We Had K-Pop episode that I'm like sad my 13-year-old self didn't have this to listen to.
I know. This feels like a moment, like, or I at least wrote down, like, this song, it just feels like such a turn because everything before this sounded exactly the same, and then this sounds like happy poppy SM K-pop pop, and I was just kind of shook by it.
Yeah, but it did great. It debuted at number 1, sold over 200,000 in just the first month. The music video is strange. It is on location for real now.
Right,
no more green screens.
I wrote finally a music video with a budget.
Yes. But also lost children all around the world.
And then they joined BoA on an island, and they're happy in the waves.
And they play tag wearing their like leather.
They're like wearing
sacks.
They're wearing like cult leather sacks.
Clothes.
Yeah.
With BoA, their fringed cult leader on a cliff. It was very odd.
Yeah.
But she looks very happy playing tag with those cult children.
And then when she's not with the cult children, she's like she's dancing on a roof again. And she's
with full-grown men again.
And she has those big ski goggles on her head and like suspenders with like a little shirt that has like a star on it, like Homestar Runner. And like, I don't know. It just felt like the most...
and pants, her signature look.
Yeah. But it felt the most like a Disney Channel costume of like anything that she had worn up till that point. Yeah. Like, Atlantis Princess was also released in Hong Kong, the Philippines, and Taiwan. So, like, here we go, Hallyu Wave. We've got Japan, so, like, let's go elsewhere in Asia.
And she had previously, like we said, she had released Chinese versions of her songs, but this is the first time they're actually, like, selling them and distributing them to countries other than Japan and Korea.
Yeah. Also to note, there's a B-side on Atlantis Princess called Milky Way that is a really good song. And it's the one that Red Velvet just covered for the BoA anniversary project that's happening right now. Theirs is like jazzy, but like it's a very good song, so recommend. December 4th, 2003. Special album time again, and this one is called Shine We Are. So we've got another really fun poppy one.
Yeah, this song is so fun, but that outfit in the music video is so bad. She has like very ugly baggy jeans that look like they're in danger of falling off of her, with this like crazy, like very ugly one-shouldered jersey, but she's wearing another tank top underneath it so that she has 2 shoulders, which just seems pointless. Right. And the only thing I wrote of note is that she has really large fake nails.
I wrote that down too.
Nails.
She has nails on. Yeah, so this is another album where they made Korean versions of the Japanese songs. But something to note that's included on this album that I thought was funny. British boy band Westlife had a song in 1999 called Flying Without Wings that like was popular in like 30 countries. So like 3 years later, they decided to do like a Westlife special best Westlife album where they recorded Flying Without Wings with like 5 other people from other countries. And so BoA was the Asian like representative. So she just like sings a few lines on this. It's like the song, but she sings a few lines. And then the music video is like BoA in the recording studio with Westlife. And they're like doing the like hands on the cans and like smiling at each other like, wow, we're having so much fun. And it was clearly shot in an hour, and I just thought that was interesting.
I don't know Westlife.
But I think that leads right into the next crazy thing that happened in the like BoA is a world superstar thing. So at Christmas in 2003, Britney Spears was on tour, and she was in Asia, and they decided to do a Britney and BoA Christmas special where Britney Spears and BoA like sat on a couch, and then 2 people asked them about like their favorite things about Christmas. And then they go back and forth between little stages like a variety show. Like BoA does 4 songs and Britney does 4 songs. And then the end of the special ended with the live debut of TVXQ.
What?
Yes!
When was that? Wait,
2003.
what was this on?
I mean, it's still on YouTube. I guess it was on like KBS or something. Let me find out who was responsible. BoA Kwan, Britney Spears, whose logo is in the corner of this video. SBS did it.
Wow.
And yeah, the whole thing is on YouTube in like 15-minute chunks. It's very crazy.
Amazing.
So yeah, they got Britney Spears.
That's
Merry
incredible.
Christmas, and here's TVXQ. Isn't that nuts that they debuted on a Britney Spears Christmas special? I didn't know that.
No, I had no idea. I don't know that much about early TVXQ because Nope, we're not going to talk about that.
We don't talk about them today. Yeah. So Britney Spears BoA Christmas special is a thing that happened. Next up, in January 15th, 2004, 3rd Japanese album called Love and Honesty. And talk about change. This single was called Rock With You. Yeah, so this is interesting. I wrote in all caps, reinvention. BoA's doing rock music now, but I put rock in quotes.
Yeah, rock in quotes for sure. It's like it's like rock the way Britney did I Love Rock and Roll, you know? But yeah, it was specifically supposed to be a different sound. It was supposed to be more rock and, quote, hard R&B, whatever that is. It's a 13-track album, and she has 1 credit for the lyrics. She seems to have more, just like in her early career, just something interesting. She seems to have more credits in her Japanese stuff than in her Korean stuff. Don't know why that is. But yeah, this one is another RIAJ, which is the Recording Industry Association of Japan's certified platinum album.
Yeah, this one also, #1, stayed there for 2 weeks.
I also wrote that the lead single Rock With You samples Janet Jackson's You Ain't Right. And Janet Jackson is someone that I found, her name comes up like repeatedly.
They compare her to, like, whenever they would do press releases for BoA, they would be like, she's going to be like Janet Jackson, a world superstar.
Exactly. They always compare the like worldwide star like Janet Jackson, which I think is very interesting, and I wonder if that comes from BoA herself, like if Janet is someone that BoA has always, like, or if that came from SM. I don't know. But it's a comparison I came across a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And this song samples You Ain't Right. I also wrote that after this album came out, she went on her 2nd tour. It was 5 cities in Japan with 9 dates in March and April. And not all of her tours have attendance totals, but this one did, and it had over 100,000 people in attendance.
Wow. Good for you, baby BoA. But actually, it's time to say goodbye to baby BoA because reinvention is continuing. So on June 15th, 2004, she put out her fourth Korean album, and it's called My Name, and the single is also called My Name. Reinvention continues. She's wearing high heels in the music video.
For the first time.
Belly button ring.
Still in her signature crop top and pants, but now she has female backup dancers again in this music video, and there's a lot more butt shaking in the choreography that was not there before.
I had like less nice feelings about this one, in that I wrote like, how are these same samples being used 4 years later? Like, come on, K-pop, let's go. Because it seems nuts that at this point, like, those same original, like, the same beats from her original ID Piece B is, like, still in this album. It's like, can we move on?
Also, the intro, the guitar at the beginning of this song is the exact same of a Justin Timberlake song. And I can't think of which Justin Timberlake song it is, but it's the dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh wait, that's Slave for You. That's Britney Spears.
Yeah, it's Slave for You.
It's not Justin Timberlake. I'm so sorry, Britney.
It's okay. But yeah, the look. Speaking,
wasn't apologizing to you. I was apologizing to Britney Spears.
Sorry to Britney Spears. Sorry to Britney Spears. But speaking of Britney Spears, the music cam performance of this song, she's wearing the music video outfit, which include a very low, like, pair of very low-rise white jeans, which were cool at the time, and it was like giving me war flashbacks. But those pants coupled with the mic pack, there's like the butt crack is so, it's just like right there. No. And it was like making me so stressed out because her pants are just so low. And I like the fact that we wore our pants that low and they made them that low. It's like, it just like makes me upset, and I don't want it to ever come back. Ever. Because I remember like SNL had like a joke about like crack spackle. That like, because the pants were so low that everybody's like butt cracks would show. Anyway, this album did go to #1, but it sold 300,000 less than the last album. And there was a little bit of backlash because people wanted baby BoA.
Yes, and she specifically wanted to try and shed her she specifically wanted to try and establish a more mature image with this album. And some people credit this album with being the start of her decline. And I read an interview with her that came out from a few years later, but it was about this album and about her like trying to shift from that. And she said, quote, "While I apologize to those people who still want the baby BoA, in fact, what can I do? I just keep growing up. I can't stop that from happening." And I think that's like an amazing response because it's so true. Like, what do you want her to do? She's growing up. Like, she's how old is she?
She
in
was
2004. 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to just like
not
Britney
a girl,
Spears.
not yet a woman.
Not yet a woman. That's such a more accurate comparison than Janet Jackson.
I think Britney is a way better compare because they're child star. I mean, I know Janet did some stuff when she was a kid, but not really, not the same way Britney did. And the way BoA did. Like, BoA and Britney are good comparisons. Anyway, so then a year later, do you have anything between that?
Oh, wait, sorry. Yes, I do. She went in 2005, in April, is the first thing I have in 2005. She went on her third tour, 4 cities in Japan with 8 dates. And this is the first, her previous tours were just named the albums that she was promoting. This is the first one that has a different name, and it's called Best of Soul, but it's just SOUL.
Which is the name
the fan
of the
name.
fandoms.
Yes.
Great. So then on June 24th, 2005, like a year after the last album, she put out her 5th Korean album, which is called Girls on Top, single of the same name. This one peaked at #3 and sold 115,000 copies. So the like thing you said last about the decline of like numerically, like, yes,
it's true.
It is a decline.
It is true.
But also I gotta say the styling is very bad. She has a terrible like mullet, like anime mullet that is rough.
And it's the first time that she has really dark black hair.
Yeah, because she, like, since debut, she had kind of, like, gingery blonde
Yeah,
hair.
she debuted with, like, a hydrogen peroxide. Like, I did that once in my bathroom when I was, like, 12.
Yes, but she's wearing, in the music video, she has, like, this crazy, like, gold, like, ringmaster suit that's really nuts.
Yeah, she has, like, a coat with tails and that is, like, gold foil. And then, like, these insane high, like, knee-high, high-heeled gold boots that go with it. If she's not wearing that, then she's, like, in a glass cage wearing this really ugly, like... bustier long lace short combo. That is ugly, and she has like weird wristicuffs and like feather.
And her hair looks so crazy.
Mullet is so feathered, and like men are coming for her in the glass box, and I was like, "What is happening in this music video? This is so wild." Just a note of the general album: she has 1 lyric credit out of 12 tracks.
Okay. They released a repack for this album less than a month later, and it was called Moto.
And she wrote the lyrics for this song with producer Kenzie, who is a name that is still very relevant today.
Yeah, the music video for Moto has some pretty nutsy wigs in it. If you want to look at some
I like
wigs.
them. I think they're cute.
They
the
look
one
good.
that has the with her bandana and the bangs and the short hair is cute. I thought the wigs were cute.
The wigs are cute.
There's the part that you just played, and then there's another little part in the chorus that makes me think of "It's Hot in Here" because it does the little and a little bit of and a little bit of but the dance goes so hard in this one, which I really liked. And
yes,
I
there's
feel
like really intense. Is that like crumping when you go?
Yeah, probably when they're saying that. But is that what crumping is?
I don't know. I think it's
I don't know. But I did write that like this album, Girls on Top, and then the repack. I feel like this is where the sound of her voice, the like voice quality that she has in this, I think is like where her like fully. This is the iconic like BoA
sound.
classic vocal sound, I think, and it stays more consistent. Because like in some of her previous, like her debut song is a lower register, and then her Japanese stuff at first was like a little bit higher, and then but she really like she sits in her like mixed voice.
Yes,
she sits right in the middle, and it's more like this.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So that was Girls on Top. Then in 2006, it's time to go back to Japan. 4th Japanese album, and this one is called Outgrow. The single I pulled for this one is called Do the Motion.
That's the one I watched too.
So this is very interesting because it's like a bossa nova song, and the music video, they're wearing like old-timey, like Moulin Rouge Titanic costumes.
Yes, and it's the first time, at least that I saw, that she's doing choreo in a dress.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she has dresses on.
Yeah,
that is
it's the
part
first
that's
time
weird.
because in the choreo, there's one set of the choreo where she's doing the dance in like this insane, pretty ugly, like gold lame, like Moulin Rouge can dress, and then there's another scene where she's like in a ballroom wearing this like early 1900s like pink Victorian gown, and she looks stunning. Like that gown is so beautiful. But it's the first time we're seeing her all dolled up.
This album went to #1 in Japan and Thailand, and singles from it were released slowly until January of the next year. They were just like putting out a song every 2 months from this album.
Yeah.
So once again, tons of music videos to watch. We're taking one song from these Japanese albums, but I'm telling you, she released stuff.
Just promoted the absolute crap out of all of her albums. This album has 14 tracks, so it's one of her bigger ones. It's her 4th consecutive Japanese album to go #1, or to debut at #1, I should say. I read that it had several tracks that were written and composed by BoA, but I couldn't find credits for each one, so I don't know how many exactly.
So once all of those singles had been slowly released, or do you have something
No, I
before
have
January?
3 other things. Yes, I have lots of things for
go ahead.
2006. In May, she renews her contract with SM until 2012, and now she has a share in the company that's worth $1 million US. So SM knows her worth, has cut her in.
Good.
In the summer of 2006, she voices Heather the Possum in both the Korean and Japanese versions of the cartoon Over the Hedge. So I just think that's funny that she did it in both countries.
Yeah, good for you.
She's a star. And then between September and October, she went on her 4th Japanese tour. And they said it was a special Zepp tour. Zepp is a company that owns several different stadiums, and so they're like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like a dome tour, but it's not a dome tour. Anyway, 7 cities, 13 dates for her 4th tour.
Beautiful. So then January 2007, Japanese. One more.
Last one. In December, she held her first Christmas concert, December 7th. Just one day.
Cute. So January 7th, 2007, she puts out her 5th Japanese album that's called Made in 20, parentheses 20.
Because now she's 20.
She's 20. So the single on this one was called Brand New Beat. I know that just sounds like a very cheesy, sweet song, but the choreography to this goes so hard for no reason. They're like, da-na-da-na. She's dancing so hard to this Disney Channel
to a song that literally got "It's a Small World" stuck in my head because that part you just sang do 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 do. Yes, it's a small right world. There. But this was one where I was like, oh, that's not the music video I watched. Because I went down a hole that had me a little screaming. Fun fact.
Please, let's go.
Did we already do general facts about this album?
No, do you want me to do those really fast?
Sure.
Okay, so really fast. This one also debuted at #1, although these were her lowest first week's Japanese sales ever. But she still squeaked out that #1.
Sold a total of over 340,000. Okay, so I watched the music video for Key of Heart, and the music video for the Japanese version is really fun, and it's just her with, she's driving. It's definitely shot in the US for sure. Probably somewhere in California, has non-Korean backup dancers. One of them has a really big fro, which I made a note of because I feel you don't see that very often. And she's just driving in a big open Jeep, dancing in the desert with her friends, whatever. But there's also a Korean version of this music video, or a music video for the Korean version of this song. And it is a commercial, really, for Olympus cameras.
Okay.
But it stars a baby Donghae.
Oh.
And this music video took me for a wild ride because it starts out with her and Donghae being lovers or boyfriend girlfriend at a school. They're at a performing arts school.
Okay.
And she's playing the piano and he's writing music and whatever. They're in love, and he walks her home, gives her a necklace, blah blah blah. Time passes, she's famous, and she's getting ready to perform some big performance. And he's on his way on a motorcycle, and he's driving so fast, and he has flowers, and of course he dies. And I was, as soon as I saw him driving so fast, I was like, oh no, he's driving so fast, this is gonna be terrible. And I knew it was coming, and I still screamed when it happened. He just rams into a car and flies. And it is so graphic. The motorcycle fully explodes behind him and he gets thrown into the air. There is a river of blood in the street.
Oh my God.
It is crazy. And then She's like, continues her life as a pop star, like, still wears the necklace that he gave her. But in an Olympus laboratory somewhere in Korea, a now CGI silver-skinned Donghae wakes up attached to things in a lab, and he's a robot person. And he starts following BoA around, sad because he can't show her his silvery CGI face, but he takes pictures of her with his Olympus camera.
Oh my God. I have to watch this immediately.
It goes on, like, I won't spoil it for you, it continues, but I just couldn't believe it. It really...
So that's the Korean version of Key of Heart. Key of Heart.
Donghae and BoA. I think the screen grab is of them in their school uniforms, so you'll be able to see it. I guess I should save that for my recommendation, but whatever. Early rec.
There it is, spoiled.
There it is. The last thing I have for 2007 is that she did a second Christmas show in Japan. This time it had 2 dates. And so far, all of these concerts that I've noted, they are all in Japan. None of them have been in Korea.
Interesting. So then on February 2008, she releases another Japanese album. So just to note, this is 3 years of no Korea. We're already 3 years of no Korea. This one is called The Face. It had a ton of singles released off of it, but the new one, I'm going to play the clip from Love Letter because that was the best performing song on this very long album. Yeah, that was released before, earlier than the album, but it was the best performing single off of this album. I think the only new song on this album was called Be With You, and it was from a movie called 10 Promises with My Dog. So the music video has BoA, literally, rowing in a canoe with a golden retriever.
Yes. And by new songs, just songs that were not pre-released.
Had not previously been released.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there were 4 pre-release tracks for this one. I also read that this was the first album where she assumed creative control. I couldn't find details about what that means, but maybe it meant more of the aesthetics and concepts of it, or maybe she had started to play a hand in the choreography. I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, there's just another one of the releases on this album was a song called Sweet Impact. And the music video for that, it's like a Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal parody. She's like wearing the white suit and the fedora, and they do the dance in the bar and stuff.
Yeah, it was like specifically referencing that one. This album made her one of only 2 artists to have 6 consecutive number 1s in Japan.
Yes, and I did read that was that this one they kind of eked by. This was a number 1, they did it, but it was released very purposefully on a specific day where she had the best chance of getting number 1 to not break the streak.
Yeah, the original release date was a couple weeks before when it was actually, and there was just more competition from other popular Japanese artists, so they just waited a couple weeks and
just
then
to get her
out.
that sixth one.
Yeah, why not? From May to June of this year, she toured this album. So the tour was called The Face. This time she had 17 cities and 20 dates. So this is one of her bigger tours so far. But it was only in Japan again. And then she ends this year taking us into another big moment for her. She ends this year, December 6th, by performing at the Jingle Ball in Anaheim, California.
Yes, because 2009 is the year that we're trying to make BoA an American pop star as well. Mm-hmm. So the single that they released, we talked about it earlier, but it is called Eat You Up. Oh, the dance to this one is so fucking cool.
It's so good. I love this song so much. I don't think I said the title earlier, but this is the one that's deeply in my brain and I don't know why.
The music video for this one, it's very obviously filmed in Korea, but like her backup dancers are like, there's more white people involved, but it's like a Korean school. And the like plot is that BoA with a hoodie covering her goddamn eyes and her crew go bust up a stuffy ballet audition.
Yeah.
And show them how to hip hop.
Exactly. It's like Save the Last Dance, right? Busting into Juilliard and doing with your hip hop, with your urban dancing. And this album, it was off of a self-titled English album.
It's just called BoA.
It's just called BoA. It's her 12th album overall, which I just noted as a fun fact because this is her 10th year in the business and 12th album overall. She has 11 total tracks, and this was done. She worked with Sean Garrett, who is an American producer. He produced Usher's "Yeah," along with several other big tracks, and it even has a duet with him on this song.
A clip. There is absolutely insane cane/chair choreography in that music video that is worth watching. It's kind of a like repetitive whatever song, but the dance is very neat.
Yes, the dance is very cool. There is sort of in general, maybe it was probably T-Pain's fault in the US at the time. There's so much vocoder in this album, like all of it has that robot voice over it.
Yeah, that music video also has the very same vibe as the Rihanna Umbrella music video.
It does even
they turn
end
into
in the
water
rain.
and there's rain and it like looks really similar. And yeah, when Sean Garrett comes on, he's just like, yeah, I'm here, and he sings a little. And yeah, the vocoder is so crazy. There's a B-side on the deluxe edition called Energetic that I wrote reminds me of Britney's Circus album, which had come out the year before and was like the only thing I liked at that, like in 2008, was the Britney Circus album. So it like, it's not like it was genre-ly wrong, like it fit in with...
it didn't stick out from like what the rest of the American pop music scene looked like at the time, but it didn't do very well.
Right.
The deluxe that you mentioned was the repack that came out in August of that year. And I did note that on June 28th, she headlined San Francisco Pride along with Solange Knowles and The Clicks, which is a Canadian rock band. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, but it didn't... I read this article, it was like from Reuters, like 2009, and it said that BoA was part of quote, not my words, quote, part of an Asian musical exchange program whose emissaries include Utada, the Teriyaki Boys, Seven, and the Wonder Girls. And I thought that was such a weird way to phrase it as like an Asian music exchange program. It was like so, I thought it was very condescending and like dismissive, like, oh, look at these kids trying to make it over here.
We're giving them a chance.
And I thought that was very rude. I think that, I mean, we've talked about how like the Wonder Girls didn't do well when they tried to come over here either, and it was kind of around the same time. I think we mentioned this in Reigns too, like his American debut didn't do very well either, and I think America was just not ready for an Asian pop star for many reasons that we don't have to get into now.
Yeah, but I thought it was very interesting that the English album BoA debuted at 127 on the Billboard Top 200 and sold about 8,000 physical copies in the United States. But it sold over 100,000 copies in Japan because they released it with she had a new Japanese greatest hits album and this English album, and they put them together as a double album, and it was called Best in USA, and it sold like gangbusters. So Japan liked the English album. If nobody did, at least her Japanese fans did.
And in the end, that means that like especially if you compare it to someone like the Wonder Girls, right? So like JYP invested so much money in sending them to the US and it was a flop and he lost so much money. But because BoA was already such a huge superstar in Japan, this arguable flop in the US doesn't matter because they made their money in Japan. Like, this was not a loss for the US or for BoA. I mean, it was a loss for the US. It was not a loss for SM or for BoA because she had Japan.
Yeah, she had Japan. So that takes us, that's 2009, so.
December 3rd. No, not December 3rd. December in general. December. The live Christmas show that has now become a BoA tradition. 3 dates in 2 cities, Tokyo and Osaka.
Yeah, so we're going to stop there for today and do 10 more years next time. But that's the first 10 years of BoA's career.
Of BoA's extremely influential and successful career. Even in that moment where they call it a decline, she's still doing great.
Yeah, I think this is it will be interesting to look at all of it together. But for this first half, it's like a superstar, like right out of the gate. And then there has been like a bit of a decline in that she isn't the coolest, hottest shit. I also looked up because I was wondering, like, again, sorry to talk about other people, but for context's sake, like in 2004,
like what her competition was.
2004, when everybody didn't like her growing up image or whatever, I was like, what was out in 2004? And I like checked who won the golden discs that year or whatever. And like Shinhwa and TVXQ were like still dominating everything, and like the only girl that even won a like mama in the 2004 was like Baby Vox getting a like lifetime achievement award. So it was just like a boy moment, I feel like, and like I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think like 2007, 2008, 2009, like that is like peak second gen, right? And so we are like not only just groups in general, but like specifically boy groups are kind of starting to take over the scene. So she has a lot of competition coming up on her, but she still does, like, she still charts. Yeah. She never like drops off the map or has any moment of like, oh, disgrace.
Right. And so that's why I'm excited to do the next 10 next time, because it feels like because 20 years is such a long time that they just sort of feel like different chapters in like a really long story. And fortunately, none of the chapters are like, here's the chapter where she lost everything. Like, it's exciting
BoA
that we don't have to do that.
Yes, there's no like, and this is the hard part of it. No, BoA just continues to kill it and be great and amazing. And so I'm very much looking forward to the part of her career that I actually know about.
Yeah, but this was fun to like learn about the beginning of it all and see how she evolved from a child star to like now she's like where we're leaving her off, she's like a 22-year-old woman, and like, oh, what's gonna happen now? It's exciting.
Assuming more creative control over her ideas. I also, since I brought this up, since she is now going to start like assuming more control, one of the biggest criticisms that BoA's faced over the years is this idea of her being a manufactured K-pop star.
Right.
And when she did her American debut, there were some interviews that like brought that up and asked her about it, because it was a criticism.
Sure.
And she specifically said that she does not feel any shame in this idea of being a manufactured pop star, and she says it's true. Like, SM is the one who, like, they're the ones who created me, and like I wouldn't have.
Most 13-year-olds do not have the wherewithal to make themselves international pop stars.
Very true. But she fully embraced it and didn't shy away from it at all. She said, of course, like, SM did make me, but I have made them a lot of money in return, and so, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with the arrangement we have.
Right. I think that's very, very fair. All right. Well, we will be right back to watch her most popular thing from this 10-year chunk. Okay. Welcome to the video reaction portion of this BoA deep dive. So for the first 10 years of BoA's career, her most popular album was her Japanese album Valenti. at 1.2 million copies.
Yes, we usually try to pick the most popular or most watched music video of the artist, but since this is all like pre-YouTube releases, we can't go by view count, so we're going by album sales, and this is to this day her best-selling album, so it was no competition.
All right, so let's check out the Valenti music video. Smoke, BoA Valenti. Okay, we're in an empty house lobby.
She's got 4 female backup dancers, and she's wearing a lot of jewelry.
Body rolls. See, here we go. This is where things are changing. Because look, there's body rolls happening.
And I feel like as soon as she started to try to not be Baby BoA anymore, she started wearing earrings and jewelry. Because at first she didn't wear any jewelry. And now look, she's got so much stuff on.
Yeah, I was reading that she
And
has her ears pierced a ton of times. That she has like 9 or 10 in each ear. Like that's been BoA's thing, is putting holes in her ears. Oh no, wistful and the rain.
She loves a fan. Just like Beyonce, she always has her wind in her face.
Even in the first music video.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that was something when I was watching through these, I noted it in like all of them. I was just like, ooh, this fan. So much wind in the hair. Sometimes it's the only concept of the music video. It's just her with wind in her hair.
Yeah, but this outfit, like, I feel like this is an outfit that I had at some point in my life. Like this big belt buckle and like tops that are cut like that. Oh, whoa, those jeans.
Yeah, they're just like shredded in the front. This is like the only music, aside from the one where she had those huge fake nails, this is the first time she's wearing like nail polish.
Yeah, nail polish. Ooh, BoA.
She's so grown up.
But she's not. What year was this? I can't close
I'll
the
look it
window,
up.
because she's got to be like 15 max.
2003. She debuted when she was, yeah, so she's like 15, 16. Oh yeah, because I did the math. She's 16 because it made me laugh that part of the chorus is "I fall in love with you," and I wrote "I fall in love with you," says the 16-year-old.
Oh, her turquoise is flash.
Why did you guess?
Because it looked, I guess I didn't, maybe I've been paying too much attention to BoA, but the stomachs of the background dancers like suddenly felt very out. I don't know if they've been out the whole time. Nope,
yeah,
I've
they're
just been
all
looking
in,
at BoA.
Yeah, they're all in crops.
But now it's nighttime, so the lighting changed. Maybe I just
and now there's
She's on
CGI fire. She like holds it in her hand. Takes a little hip rolly classical guitar break. With her chunky belt.
It's so big.
That chair looks really uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm very like distraught by the tile floors. Just because it's like very clear that this is just an empty house.
Yes.
And it feels so much like an empty house. It's very weird.
And it kind of looks like an empty house that like, I don't know, it's making, maybe it's just the lighting. It makes me think that like a vampire would live in it.
Yes. I don't know if they'll show it again, but I just realized that the shirt she's wearing with the weird white jeans, I remember when those shirts were so cool and they sold them at Charlotte Russe. Is that still a store? I think it is.
I have no idea.
But they were just like weird shirts, and they'd have something printed that said
yeah.
like cowgirl, and then there'd just be a bunch of jewels in the letters.
Yeah. And they're like that weird stretchy thin material.
Yes.
The image would like stretch out.
Yes, exactly. Because it was like printed on there in a crazy way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shadow dancing.
In all of those close-ups, she's just had hair in her face.
Wow.
That's what the fan is for.
Ta-da! Yay! That was Valenti.
Baby BoA, not so baby anymore.
On her way out of her babydom. And that's that. Do you have a recommendation for this week?
Yes, I honestly couldn't decide. I mean, one of my like not serious recommendation is that Donghae music video.
Okay.
Because
I mean, I think
it's
that's a serious
just-
rec. I need to see. I think
It's a
everyone
serious
needs to
rec
see
in the
it.
sense that it is fun and insane. And the CGI is very bad. Like CGI Donghae no longer has Donghae's face.
Cool.
But that's not like I feel like it's not a serious recommendation in the sense that like it's not about BoA. And I couldn't decide. I have so many, especially because with this like SM station BoA, our beloved BoA
Right.
anniversary special, there's like so much excellent stuff. So I won't really recommend those because like some of them are from her later.
Yeah,
the
they're later.
half.
I know what you mean.
But they're so good. But in honor of our beloved BoA, I am going to recommend a 2017 Mama performance because this one starts out with BoA. And she comes out and she sings Girls on Top. And then 17 comes out and they cover number 1. And then Twice ends it and they cover My Name. And it's really good. And so just to shout out some excellent like modern covers of songs that came out in this half of her career,
Right.
check out the 2017 BoA Mama performance.
Great. I'm just going to reiterate one of the B-sides I brought out already, which is Milky Way from her third Korean album, Atlantis Princess. Really good song. And the Red Velvet, our beloved BoA cover. This is the right time period, so watch that if you haven't, because Wendy is in it. She's healthy enough to sing, so everyone got to see her, and that is nice to see. But my other B-side that I noted and didn't mention in the timeline was off of the Made in 20 Japanese album. There's a song called Winter Love, and it's just like a very pretty ballad. It's just a pretty ballad. And in the music video, BoA is like frozen in an ice castle, and there's like a man with a locket trying to get to her. But I'm just like, it's really hot outside, and just like looking at BoA laying on ice, just like, it felt comforting in some way. So if you need to cool down, the Winter Love music video is very cool.
I like that. That's a good seasonal rec.
Well, that's it for today. And like we said, we'll be back next week to cover 2010 to present.
Yes, the last 10 years up till today.
Up till today, it's so exciting. Until then, if you want to get in contact with us, you can reach us at AMA K-Pop Pod on Twitter and Instagram, AMA K-Pop Pod at Gmail for emails. Do we want to share our snail mail?
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, I have to get my phone because I don't remember what it is. Yes, a very fun and exciting announcement in honor of our dear U.S. Postal Service. If you write to us, we request that it be done by local mail. But we have a new P.O. box, so you can write to us. You can address it to either one of our names, or you can just address it to Ask Me About K-Pop. The post office has all of those registered for this box. It is P.O. Box 26096, Los Angeles, California, 90026. So you can now write to us or send us little things if you want to send us whatever you want.
Yes, people have been asking for that for a very long time. And yeah, we're getting serious business. So we needed a post office address and we needed to help the post office. So it was like a perfect marriage of things.
Yeah, so go out, buy a sheet of stamps. It's only $11. If every adult bought one sheet of stamps, we'd raise over $1 billion for the USPS. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
So buy yourself a sheet of stamps and then use one of those stamps to send us a letter.
Yeah. Fun. I feel like now I need to come up with a jingle for the address so that we can like say it like Stick Stickly used to at the end. Because I still have not forgotten Stick Stickly's address after 30 years.
I always think of the Zoom, like 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't remember the numbers, but I remember the tune. Send it to Zoom. 02024 Boston, Mass. Something like that.
Yes, and Stick Stickly's was write to me, Stick Stickly, P.O. Box 963, New York City, New York State, 10108. And I probably haven't heard that since 1996, but it is still in my head.
We'll come up with one set to a Shiny song. Probably.
Yeah, so no one will forget it. Yeah, and then also Discord. You can join our Discord, get in the conversation. If you want to join our Patreon, patreon.com/AMAKPopPod. Our August episode will be out soon because we're running out of month. How did that happen again?
Yes, running out already. But every month at Patreon, there's a brand new bonus episode, and you get some fun little perks too, like participating in our song battle last week.
And you know that you're supporting this show.
Yes.
And that's good. All right, well, we will see you next week for more BoA. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Jonghyun, you're our inspiration.